We're going to get right into this week's Torah portion. I hope you guys are blessed online. I hope that blessed your life, encouraged you. That's what we want to do. Sometimes we come with a strong word that can really hammer the flesh nature of man, and we want that. But at the same time, there's got to be a gentleness of His Spirit to help build us up and mold us and continue to bring us to that place where we are close to Him. We want to go from that place of a location. Like I said earlier, that I was moved by the Spirit to share that. From here I am, being available to here you go. Here you are, the great I am. That's what Hineni means. It doesn't really mean like here I am. It means here I am. I'm all yours. Balaq, Torah Portion Balaq. I have a subtitle here, and it's the prophetic voice between the vineyards, the Balaam factor. Let's get right into some scripture. Jude chapter 1, verse 11. There's only one chapter. Woe unto them, for they have gone in the way of Cain. And I want you guys to just hear my spirit, my heart, and allow the Ruach, the Spirit of the Most High, to minister to you wherever He needs to minister to you. The phrase gone means to live in the way of Cain, which was what? Murder in every sense of the word, whether it's physical or spiritual. The way of Cain was the severing of relationships and the detachment from family. That's the way of Cain. And he ran greedily after the error of Balaam for reward. To run greedily originates from the word meaning to spill blood, believe it or not. The error of Balaam is like the spilling of blood in secret first and then publicly. And you'll see this in the Torah portion. It's so powerful. And perished in the gainsaying of Korah. Perish in the gainsaying means to perish in the contradictions that are assaults against the standard of righteousness and holiness. It also means standing in opposition to the order of God, of Elohim, because of fleshly ties or emotional jealousies. That's what Korah operated. He was jealous for the priesthood. And it's Yahweh's way, if you think about it. Look to your neighbor and say, you know what? He can go that way, or he can go your way, or you can go your way. We're going to go Yahweh. When any appearance of evil is promoted by the believer, listen, we must stand against it no matter what. And me personally, I've been falsely accused many times, and this just comes with the territory. You want to be a leader, you want to have that position, things are going to transpire. For standing against evil that had been publicly displayed as if I was attacking someone doing it. But no, we are here to destroy and come against the tactics of the enemy. But to the contrary, addressing the issue itself collectively, and at times Korah or Cain and even Balaam would twist the events to trying to make it seem as if an attack was made towards those displaying such things that Elohim hates Himself. It's about holiness. That's why we played that song, because holiness is what we are to become. Never be moved by anyone, even if they are close, because of judgment, not condemnation. But judgment must begin where? In the house of Abba. If we judge these things, we will not be judged with those things. Holiness is the key. And Jude continues on. These are spots in your feasts of love. When they feast with you, the Moedim are either sacred or compromised events where there is no Ruach HaKodesh. Not just anyone can come to the feast days. It's not a party. It isn't a picnic or even a camping trip. We must keep Cain, Balaam, and Korah outside the camp. The scripture continues on, feeding themselves with fear, without fear. Clouds without water, carried about of winds, trees whose fruit wherewith without fruit. Twice dead, plucked up by the roots, raging waves of sea, foaming at their own shame, wandering stars to whom is reserved the blackness of darkness forever. We must not compromise. Period. We must hold a standard of holiness, or the Spirit of the Most High will retract from this place. And I'm not speaking like this place, but this place and in general, the body of Messiah. And as a shepherd myself, I swore to protect the sacred things of Yahweh. And this is why myself, I'm very passionate. Sometimes it might seem aggressive. I've had people say, man, you seem aggressive. It's a passion. I don't come from the same place as others. I come from a different place, and the Father utilizes sometimes where we come from to mold us and detach certain things, but mold us in who we're supposed to be. So I'm very passionate with these things that the Father has entrusted us with. 2 Peter 2:14, having eyes full of adultery and that cannot cease from sin, beguiling unstable souls. Beguiled is the term used when the woman was compromised in the beginning. It is like committing adultery. To compromise is like being unfaithful to your spouse, and in this case, Yahweh himself. So don't let your flesh, tell your neighbor, say, don't let your flesh. Don't let your flesh get in the way of righteous commands that are given by the Most High. We must make it to the end. Look to your neighbor and say, I'm making it to the end. Because it's those who endure. So that little word endure. Imagine it would be really nice if that one word endure was removed and just make it to the end. But the writer inserted the endurance part. It's like, are you kidding? That means there's going to be resistance. And resistance is what causes us to be molded, shaped, and prepared for the outcome of being saved. A heart they have exercised with covetous practices, cursed children, which have forsaken the right way and are gone astray, following the way of Balaam, the son, the King James says Bosor, but it's Beor in Hebrew, which means destruction. So Balaam was the son of destruction. And what do we see happening around the world right now? Everywhere. It seems like destruction just seems to leave a footprint everywhere. On every continent and every country, there's destruction happening. This is the result of Balaam, the spirit behind Balaam. Balaam desires to render the kingdom people useless and powerless. And we see the pattern from the beginning. That's what the enemy wants. He wants us to be useless, undesired by the Creator because of sin and unfaithfulness to idolatry, or because of idolatry, and powerless, so he can overpower and abuse, just like Balaam was abusing that donkey, who loved the wages of unrighteousness, but was rebuked for his iniquity. The dumb ass speaking with man's voice forbade the madness of the prophet. We can really go there regarding this dumb ass, according to the King James, so excuse me. Let's look at this term that came to me a couple weeks ago, transmitting antennas. That just like popped out of nowhere. I'm going to try to fit everything together as best as I possibly can. Abba, help me with this one. This Torah portion is always a sobering one for everyone who has ears to hear what the Spirit of Yahweh is speaking through this ancient revelation. This is a satanical umbilical cord of the Antichrist and his beast system, feeding the masses and marking the masses. When you discuss the characteristics displayed regarding Balaam or Bilam, you're going to hear me using both terms, the Hebrew term Bilam and just the commonly known Balaam. It's the same guy. Korah and Cain. It should put us on alert, especially in the house of Elohim, of God. It's like an antenna system in a sense. The transmission is cast out like a net on the sea in order to gain a response from the multitude of fish. Do you hear what I'm saying? Just like this setup for the Great Reset on the horizon with the artificial intelligence controlling everything leading up to this coming year of 2025. They're using patterns from the Great Depression to 9/11, and the next one, as it's getting closer and closer, 2025, is being said to be a massive global reset. And I'm going to share some things that came from a friend of ours out of Australia that's already happening, just so that we can be sober-minded in the days that we're living in. We are collectively in the sea of this world system, and depending on the transmission via the net, your place is not determined by which vineyard you're in, but if you have been steadfast on the narrow path of the kingdom. Here's an interesting part of an article from a friend, like I said, of ours that he recently put up, and it actually parallels what I have here, and I didn't realize it, regarding this antenna effect or marking system that is already rolled out in New Zealand, the whole country. You can't even rent a piece of paper without this digital mark. It's in New Zealand. It's in Scandinavia. December 1st, 2025, it's in Australia. The United Kingdom is already embracing this and about to launch it out. And now the rumor is, heads up, Western world, it's coming your way. You can't get in a taxi. You can't get an Uber. You can't buy anything at the grocery store. This is now. You can't buy a house, rent anything. You can't do anything that is attached to the government powers that be without this digital marking system that a friend of ours is heartbroken to see that has unfolded in our lifetime now. I'm not here to bring fear. We have everything to be excited about. Why? We're just passing through. We're just passing through. Everything you entrust us with is to further your covenant. The wealth, the health, the prosperity, the land, the homes, the whatever, the children, every child, every son, every daughter. We are here to further your kingdom. Why? I was only created to worship the King. That's it. So everything I do should be an act of worship to the King. Everything. Let's read this article from him. It's called Mark of Conveyance, Image of Singularity. So I just grabbed the snippet from what he has. Is Australia's new digital ID law the dreaded mark of the beast? On the surface, it does not appear so. However, the digital ID system being set up worldwide appears more like the apparatus, the framework, and the structure of the system that is growing. Even now, to define and shape the workings of the AIWSs belonging to the beast and his beast system. To understand the framework of this system, we must consult Black Law's dictionary, first published in 1891. It is a kind of gold standard for the legal definitions of terms and phrases found in American and English commerce and jurisprudence, both ancient and modern. I would venture, Avi Ben Mordecai says, to say that Black's Law is the go-to dictionary for attorneys, bankers, prosecutors, courtroom judges, and government entities. The entry for a mark, quote-unquote, according to Black's Law's 5th edition, which I have at home, and I checked this, and it's right on, a character, usually in the form of an X or a cross, is made as a substitute for a signature by a person who cannot write to execute a conveyance. A conveyance is an attachment, whether willful or by force, to connect you to some kind of agreement. Think about this. This is heavy. To a will or another legal document. A mark is necessary evidence of a legal conveyance or a transaction. Without a mark or signature, there is no evidence of a conveyance or transaction, so they need to do something. I'm not marking anything. I'm not signing nothing. I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that. No problem then. Then you either accept a mark on your flesh or you risk having no access to anything. Where's your God now, there, slave? See Black's Law's 5th edition and its entry for transfer of title. I'm all in this. I am in this like water. So this is why this is such a riveting truth right now, because it's here. Assignment, lease, mortgage, or encumbrance of land, an instrument by which some estate or interest in land is transferred from one person to another. We will learn more about assignment and transfer when I discuss the creation story in Genesis chapter 2 and 3. It's founded way back there. Finally, consider the term abstract of title. This is the record of evidence of a title, conveyances, transfers, and other facts relied on as evidence of title. They want to own mankind. They want to own you. They are already. Your phone, your computer, guess what it's doing? You are acting as a sub-creator right now, all of us. Everything you type, say, everything that is heard, it's creating a Terminator-type AI image of yourself right now. right now. I would not doubt if we all have a doppelganger, artificial intelligence image of us already chatting and learning from you and from me. The Bible speaks about two spiritual marks. Number one, a mark of conveyance and a mark of abstract title. A mark, number one, of conveyance is a spiritual transfer of title to Yahweh. Colossians 1:13-14, here it is. He has delivered us from the power of darkness and conveyed us transfer of title unto the kingdom of the Son of His love. We are titled, listen, we are titled into the kingdom because of the mark or the cross or the crucifixion of Yeshua. Ezekiel 9:4, and Yahweh said to him, go through the midst of the city, through the midst of Jerusalem, and put a mark on the forehead, the brow of the men who sigh and cry over all the abominations that are done within her. If we are detached from the abominations that the Creator sees, that is evidence that we have been marked, titled, transferred into the kingdom. If we embrace those things, now we have an abstract situation going on that the enemy can come make claim to you. Is this sobering or what? Number two, an abstract title mark is evidence that the title legally belongs to the beast and the beast system. That's why they've been gradually rolling this stuff out. No wonder the president's car is called the Beast, and it's 18,000 pounds. Wow, that's 666 right there. 6,000 plus 6,000 plus 6,000 is why does it have to be 18,000 pounds? Why did they create a supercomputer system called the Beast system? This was years ago, and now it's unfolding. We are in the prophetic days, and I am so passionate and excited because our King is coming just like Abba promised. He promised. Revelation 13:16-17. He causes all, someone say all. Say, there's no hiding. Both small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark. There are challenging times ahead of us. Very challenging times. And we said this probably in 2012. We used a scenario. We said, what are you going to do, Mama and Daddy, if it gets to the point of this where they say, okay, you don't want to submit to us. How about if we torture your children in front of you? Who wouldn't break for something like that? Boy, we need the presence of the Most High in our midst. This is the time to start going through some things in your life that are antennas to the artificial intelligence beast system. Those little movies that you watch, right? I like movies. I like Ultimate Fighting Championship. I like these things. It's something about the flesh. We get entertained, brings like some happiness, right? But we got to get real with ourselves and say, you know what? I got to start balancing some things out, right? We need to start going through things because everything is an antenna type system. And we're going to look at the connection of an antenna type system. It's like you're building a personal mishkan, tabernacle, but for what kind of presence? I spent some time in prayer because of this word. And the things that Abba has been showing me with this scared the residue of hell out of me that was there. You get what I'm saying? Abstract of title, verification of loyalty, allegiance. That's what that is. Something abstract. I'm not going to get into it. There's so much we can go into. On their right hand or on their brow, their forehead, cerebral frontal cortex neural network. Thank you, Elon Musk, for Neuralink. And that no one may buy or sell except one who has the mark, the abstract of title, verification of loyalty, and their allegiance to the beast system, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. And this is where the end quote goes. And there's much more to read on what Avi ben Mordecai shared. continuing with our study. Well, thank you there, John. That made my day. I lost my appetite. It'd take the prophetic donkey to speak in the face of the false communications coming from the Balaam factor that is rampant in our day, which is and will be seen more and more through this AI global system, and if I may, the beast system. What we've just read is paramount regarding the way of Balaam. The way of Balaam is the path of error in every sense of the word, that is in direct connection to spilling the blood generations out on the ground. There's an interesting transmission or antenna effect throughout this prophetic Torah portion. It's everywhere. The portion consists of a dialogue between a king, Balaq, with a prophet, Balaam, throughout the text until we come to the end of Numbers 25, when the people settle in Shittim, and this transmissional thread of divisiveness that given by the elusive prophetic word of Balaam to Balaq causes the people to commit harlotry. Why? Because of the wrong transmission that had transpired. He couldn't curse the people. But false prophets are slick. They know how to get in to get you to curse yourself while they still look good. Show me the miraculous and you'll draw me in. That's the first transmission. And tell me about everything. Just tell me my mail and every receipt you got, only so that I'll come under your covering, take on your last name, and now I'm seen as a harlot adulterer, blinded by the truth. Blinded to the truth because of the lies. Abstract title is happening behind the pulpits of America. Isn't that the deception of the enemy? To cause the redeemed people to stray into all forms of harlotry? Balaq and Balaam were intertwined in deceit, the antenna effect. It would be righteous Pinchas, the mouth that destroyed the voice of prophetic deception and sexual arrogance, executing one act of righteous zeal that pierced the perversion of an ungodly consummation. Moses didn't even speak up. Aaron didn't even speak up. That's next week's Torah portion. Pinchas looked around. I could only picture him. And he stood up and said, if no one else will do this, I will do this because of the sake of the name of my king. And he did it. Pinchas was chosen to abort the transmission of destruction before the seed of this could germinate and produce another kind amid a delivered people. We see this Balaam seduction today everywhere. I had a pastor, I'll tell my wife, I forgot to tell her, I'll tell her later. A pastor emailed me and said, hey, you're hitting below the belt. I said, that's because people aren't circumcised. I'm fast. You're going to come with something, I'm going to be quick. We see this Balaam seduction today everywhere. The church pulpits draped in harlotry, from the praise and worship team to the preachers in their pulpits. Not all of them, but many. We can see the Balaam influence in the rabbinic circles of Judaism, promoting harlotry, which many refuse to recognize, with its child abductions and blood sacrifices beneath many synagogues around the nations. Yes, I said it. We see Balaam influence, like I said before, you want to shut me up, you got to shoot me in the head. Don't shoot me in the shoulder because you're dead. Don't cut me with a knife. I've been stabbed before. Ask my wife as a little boy. I'm not afraid of weapons. If you're going to take me out, you better make sure that you do it right, because I'm not going to shut up is my point. I have a big, fat mouth for the truth. Why is this guy so mad? I'm not mad. I'm just passionate. We see Balaam influence in many of the Messianic and Hebrew roots communities, opening doors to New Age. Pastor Dave and I, we know people that got into Buddhism, all that stuff. They left. I'll tell you why. They got into New Age, witchcraft, and astrology in their teachings and in their practices as if to obtain the highest level of Kabbalistic revelation and spiritual ecstasy. We must destroy the frequencies from the forbidden antennas of Balaam's projected voices. We must not let the influence of Balaam into the appointed times, the Sabbaths, lest we fall prey to the devouring jaws of evil. It's interesting to notice that within many Hebrew roots and Messianic communities, there doesn't seem to be backbones of righteousness when it comes to standing against the appearance of witchcraft, New Age, mystical innuendos that lead to deism and even spiritism. And we probably all do, but I know of several who have entangled themselves in Buddhism, went into Islam, and other atheistic settings just because they wanted the next Kabbalistic high. We must not have the backbone like a water hose. I had to throw it in there. In these days, even if most don't want you around anymore, who cares? So what? I used to teach my children, you don't beg people to be your friend. If they don't want to be your friend, keep going. You don't beg. If they don't want to be around you because you're standing for righteousness, keep walking. Just keep going. I'm headed to the mountain. You want to stay down there in the dung heap? Go ahead. With the rest of the asses, I mean donkeys. You guys get what I'm saying. We see this Balaam seduction today everywhere. So did you know that Balaam, listen, he had descendants? Did you know that? You know who his descendants were? Jannes and Jambres. Possible twins. Interesting. You find that in the Targums found in the Dead Sea Scrolls and 2 Timothy 3:7-8. The enemy moves through generations like the transmission of an antenna effect that can open the doors to the above stated information that the scriptures convey to us. Let's look at the way of Cain. And this can go, you can take each one of these and just have a whole sermon on it by itself. The way of Cain can reflect the Catholic Church as well, along with its syncretism and forced conversion, right, Jesuits? By way of duress or immediate death. In addition, this way of Cain has attempted to usurp the complete work of the redemption Yeshua victoriously executed through his priesthood here on earth as it is in heaven. The way of Cain is the way of conspiracy and cover-up, just as we've seen about 2 weeks ago in Philadelphia. Right? Oh, that boy, he really tried to... He did. He was all by himself. He was that intelligent, and he had so much money to purchase the high-tech stuff. And keep believing the media, right? Another antenna to institutionalize the people from the mind out. When the mind goes, the mind goes. The way of Cain is the way of conspiracy and cover-up. Do we really think that the media portrayed the events that took place? Do we really think that all this stuff's the truth? I'm not getting into all that. I just want to throw that out there. Because why? While they were portraying, look over here, we got a mockery of Leviticus 8 and 9 in a sense. While they were doing that, China said, it is time. Parachuting troopers over on the Alaskan border. When that happened, troopers from China are on the Alaskan border. Well, I'm not moving from my patriot position right here because we're voting for this guy now. Go ahead. Don't you mess with my patriot position. We don't have to, it's already a mess. I'm going to skip something. Let's look at the gainsaying of Korah. This can reflect rabbinic Judaism of today, as it has compiled volumes of rabbinic law. I was like learning this stuff for 2.5 years in the beginning. And I started to read stuff. I said, this is almost as bad as the Islamic writings. Creating burdens over the people of Elohim before and during the days of Yeshua while he was here on earth. It is this sect that desires another priesthood like Korah juxtaposed to the Melchizedek order. We see this still to this day, and many within Christendom, if I could say that, Messianic Hebrew roots movements fall prey to this under the advancement of political Zionism that most mainline Christian leaders are supporting as well. Let's fly all the Jews home, because as soon as we get them home, Jesus is coming, or the Mahdi is coming. All lies. The gainsaying of Korah is the rejection of the true high priest of the Melchizedek order that can only produce the unmixed fruit of the kingdom. To make claim that Yeshua could not be a high priest here, I'm just in this, I can't help it. When this was said to me, I just was like a juggernaut. I'm just attacking this now, spiritually speaking, not physically. To make claim that Yeshua could not be a high priest here on the earth as it is in heaven is to reject the path he walked, resulting in the salvation and defeat of death on his altar, which was rooted in the earth on Golgotha. The error of Balaam is seen within the Christian church today as well, displayed across the nations. The error of Balaam, his real name, is mixed in the vineyard of the Vatican, the modern-day Zionist regime, and is also found within the Temple Institute today as they are promoting the red heifer ashes with its Levitical priesthood establishment. But I give them offerings every week. Stop doing it. Don't do it anymore. It's a deception. I'm being straight up. The error of Balaam also advocates the red heifer sacrifice with alternative temple mixtures, never coming to the finished work of cleansing and authentic holiness by way of the blood of the true Lamb of Elohim. The error of Balaam is so brazen that it will endeavor to manipulate the words of the Creator himself, causing the kingdom people to decline to a place of dissent against the kingdom status. The error of Balaam contains the power of miracles, signs, and wonders that can fool the masses while at the same time having the ear to hear the voice of prophecy. Isn't that something? Balaam could hear the prophetic dimension. He had the mantle of a prophet on him, but he was first a sorcerer. He guised himself. He came, I'm going to say this, boy. I was in prayer. Abba released me to do it. He came from Africa over to the nation under the guise of a prophet. Today, you have many false prophets coming from Africa and entering into this nation, fooling the masses, and they're taking on their name, committing spiritual adultery. All these fool the masses while at the same time they're having ear to hear the voice of prophecy, which is mind-blowing. Balaam is rampant in the church as a whole today with its glamour. I'm getting invites from some churches on email, and I'm letting them know the only way I can come if I can deliver what the Father has told me to speak. Don't tell me here's what this church is focused on for these 3 months. Don't give me that. I'm coming with a prophetic, powerful message. I'm going to bulldoze right through that, so you don't want me to go to your church, because I'm going to speak the truth. I'm not going to speak what you're saying the Holy Spirit's telling you, and it's contrary to what's written. That's not the Spirit of the Most High. Here's the message. You want me to come? You better get prepared and bring a whole lot of Kleenex. The error of Balaam contains the power of miracle signs and wonders that keep fooling all these masses, and Balaam is rampant in the church as a whole today with its glamour, fame, and compromise of the whole truth that has been exiled through the entertainment stages of American pulpits. Today, Babylon is in full operation, and the prophets we see today are more sons of Balaam than sons of our righteous King, Yahweh Yeshua. We've seen this satanical umbilical cord displayed before us through the scriptures, this twisted trinity, if I may. The masses are already deceived by with its illusions, smoke, mirrors, and stage entertainment. It's here, guys. You know what I'm talking about. I'm just building a foundation before we actually get into the Torah. Is that all right? We've journeyed through Korah. Or I should say, we've journeyed through the Korah situation of usurping divine order, those usurping the ordained priesthood, to the unexplained mystery of the red heifer and chukat that even Solomon, it says, was baffled by, one of the most wisest men on earth. We also have the powerful revelation on marriage and divorce that unlocks the answers to ancient questions many had, releasing the captive bride from the grips of charlatan husbands that just want to get you in their bed. I felt like going Pentecostal. Young ladies, don't you settle. Don't you settle for a sneaky charlatan. Let your spiritual father or father see right through that dung. We will see what you can't see. Why? Because there is a man of God on the horizon coming for you. The enemy always brings the one that isn't for you first. Hey, what do you think about him? Look at his muscles. Look at his abs. Look at his legs. Look at his... He's going somewhere. He's got like 7 jobs. Remember that old Living Color thing? How many jobs you got? I got 100 jobs. You sound like a jigsaw puzzle, bro. Let me behave myself. These charlatan husbands who have enslaved her behind the veils of prophets for hire and lust. From the mystery of the red heifer, we come to the dimension of mystery, mayhem, madness, mystical maleficencies, and magic in Parashat Balaq. You don't need to go pay to watch a scary or mystical Harry Potter movie, you guys. Just open the scriptures up. And these things are all recorded in biblical history, and they're dealt with harshly. This Torah portion has been played out over and over, especially in our day now. For me, this week was the most challenging week. But because of my faithful King, and many of us had a challenging week, I've stood absolutely intact and unbroken in my spirit, soul, and body and mind with the ability to remain steadfast to deliver this message. We'll engage in the name of this Torah portion that deals with 2 unique men, Balaq and Balaam. The Torah portion is mainly about these 2 guys going back and forth. Balak's like, hey, I got all the silver and the gold, man. Just, if I give you all this, will you just go curse them? He said, I can't. That's interesting. This false prophets have run to that. But this is what's called false humility. And we see this today, this false humility with these false prophets. And the people are suckered into it. We must read and study and apply the Word of God and spend time praying to be able to spiritually discern the days and moments and minutes that we're in right now. But first, I want to interject an insight of my own regarding this Torah portion. This week should have begun where last week's ended. Next week's should begin where this one ends. Next week's called Pinchas, but this one ends with this whole scenario of what Pinchas did. This week should have begun in chapter 22, verse 1, where the land was possessed as Israel defeated the enemies to their inheritance. This entire Torah portion focuses mainly on the discussion between Balaq and Balaam. 3 times Balaam hears the word of Yahweh. See, this is what blows my mind, why it can be so elusive to the believing community. well, he prophesied all that. Who cares if he's prophesying that? Test the spirits. How do you know my mom's name? Hold on a second. Let me drag this palm reader over here by the hair. The palm reader can do the same thing. Don't be fooled by the spirit of Balaam and these false prophets. When we were in church, there was someone in a high rank in the church that was related to the senior pastor. She said, I got a word for you, right? So-called prophetess. She's speaking, and I go like this. You missed it. Everyone's glasses went down because you were taught to just receive anything they said. Not this guy. I grew up in a horrible place to where Abba groomed me not just to accept everything. I'm a watchman. I see everything, even when it seems like I'm not. I pay attention to everything. I listen to the words people say, the things they should say that they don't. And I watch body language, movement, actions. I notice everything. I'm a soldier in the spirit, a sniper in the spirit. I see it all. I don't say anything until the shift comes. Then I lay it out and be like, here's where you should have made teshuvah from. But you chose not to. I grew up too fast. Everyone said that was the problem, but the Father turned it around for a greater thing. Don't be fooled by these false prophets. I hate that stuff. Ask my daughter Ashley. She was at a certain church. I won't say it. Very riveting. Very elusive. It's like reeling you in from the sea of commercial deception in them churches. You can't curse what Yahweh Elohim has blessed. We've heard that many times. You know who said that? Balaam. The song sung in the synagogues, Ma Tovu, Ohalecha Yaakov, Mishkenotecha Israel. That came from Balaam. So they can sing, huh? Balaam can sing. Some say, man, what's that white dude talking like? I'm not white. My grandfather was from Brazil. I got Hispanic. I was mixed all over the place. My first church I went to was a Black Baptist church. I was the only Hispanic guy in there. So I got soul in me. I could dance too. I could dance. So it just comes out in a kosher manner. Most of the time. Some might say, get with the message. Now Israel's journey traverses from this place of victory to this setting of Moab, the kingdom of incest and perversion. Moab was the result of, I'm actually giving you the whole Torah, I'm giving you the whole Torah portion, the build up into this. If people say, do away with the Torah, isn't the Torah exciting when you hear it? I don't know what's going on in here, but I'm going to get you to smile sooner or later. It is. Moab was the result of incest and lust. You can't get me going because I don't know how to stop. You can read that in Genesis 19, 36 to 37. Not me not knowing how to stop, but about the incest. What we have is an intercalated enigma. I learned that word 2 weeks ago when I was listening to Dave. So I said, I'm going to add that word, and instead of putting, right, Brittany, 75 simple words together, just, no wonder my notes are 17 pages long. I'm going to get them down to 10. An intercalated enigma unfolding from behind the veil of prophecy in our day. If we think about it, there's been an uproar over the Melchizedek priesthood and the Aaronic priesthood over the last few decades, along with another war, and I say that on purpose, over calendars and priesthoods. The argument is, who has legal right on the earth? Sounds to me we have another war scroll scenario on the horizon. And if I can say it, it's already here. Then there's religious discussions regarding the need of a red heifer and its ashes for sanctifying the trained Levitical regime, now ready under the umbrella of the Temple Institute. But with no true biblical prophet like Moses, Numbers chapter 11, anywhere to be found, a hand-picked Sanhedrin council ordained to give the orders in this case. Don't tell me there has to be a Sanhedrin council over there and then now judgments can take place. Let me see the prophet that picked them. Where's the prophet that picked them? Well, the state of Israel says that. Stick the state of Israel back in the bucket. Where's the biblical prophet that picked the Sanhedrin? Those guys are perverts over there. Some of these Sanhedrin council members, these are perverts. They're involved in eating children. I'm being raw. I hate to be like this, but Dave prayed for a prophetic mantle right here. Here we go. Blame him. This stuff is real. Well, I like McDonald's. Oh, you do? Well, lunch is going to be real inexpensive for you today, then. Good old Bill Gates, huh? Do you like his appeal? I don't mean that. There can be no vineyard swapping. These are the days of vineyards, talking donkeys, manipulation, a whole bunch of mayhem, mystery, magistrates, and magic, and then ends with the power of focused righteousness and royal zeal that pierces the offspring of this world's perversion. This Torah portion is exciting. That's all I got for you guys. Shabbat shalom. I knew I'd wake you guys up. I knew it. Gotcha. We need a generation of Pinkas to rise up. You guys should have jumped out of your seat. I'm right here. Let me go back. We need a generation of Pinkas to rise up. Who will not waver to any leadership that will turn the other cheek to mixing the holy with the profane like Balaam. We must never waver. We cannot waver. Why? Our generations, ministries, family, and friends depend upon these decisions. As for me and my house, we will continue to serve Yahweh Elohim even if others choose not to. I won't say this family member of mine wanted to come to our Sukkot and still live an atheistic, worldly life. I said, you can't. You're going to mix. I said, I'm not trying to condemn you. You've got to repent of that mixture. You can't do it. Well, I believe in God. No. Belief is an action. Ask Father Abraham. If you're mixing, you can't. You just can't. It taints the whole thing. The spirit of Abba is not there. Now we go from a Sukkot or a Yom Teruah, we go to something else where we're just hanging out. I want the presence of Abba at our appointed times. I want to see transformation. I want to see tangible revelation of Him being with us. How many people believe that? I do. Parshat Balaq is about gateways, also doors, pathways, prophecies, mountains, angels, altars, and righteous actions taken that produce covenant status. If you claim to be a believer and want to promote wickedness in any way or fashion, you don't belong at the appointed times. We just read in the beginning. Or behind that podium. We see a lot of mixture. I've mentioned it earlier. We can't mix and we must speak against these things, even if they are being promoted by those of our very own blood, like I use me as an example. And I'll tell my wife and my daughter after who that was. And they're going to be like, ooh, that one's spicy. That one is a red hot chili pepper, boy. Don't make me throw you in the frying pan. Be a watchman on the wall, not a condemning watchman, but a watchman on the wall of the narrow path, especially with those wanting to come close to the heart of Yahweh, his people. Keep watch over those close to us, otherwise we will do what the children of Israel did. Curse ourselves, thinking that heaven still hears our prayers and praise. As for me and my household, we won't mix. We won't compromise. We won't bend, and we won't fellowship with any mixture, even if it changes the course of a promise. For those once vowed to stand for the nation, community, in the name of our King. I'm stubborn. This is why a lot of people left Remnant, because I wouldn't waver. I still won't. We got to have the mentality that, Abba, if it's just me and my house, we will serve you. Say thank you, Abba, for a community that's faithful. Like Pastor Dave Matthews has said for years, when you first said, I could not help but crack up. People with backbones like a water hose. I could actually visualize that. I could just turn that up. I don't know. I told you I could dance. Let us stand with the unshakable, the immovable visionaries and those holding the line of righteousness. Your inheritance and your freedom depend upon these facts and these truths. If there could be a subtitle for this, what do you call a subtitle beneath a subtitle? What is that? An article? Okay, if this is a subtitle, you know what I'm saying. It would be something like this. Enter through the narrow gate, because broad is the way that leads to destruction, and most go that way. Narrow is the path that leads to life, and few will find it. Isn't that the truth of this Torah portion? Because there's this narrow path and vineyards on the side. On one side, no, let me stay focused. One of the last tests for the body of believers will be the test of Balaam. Mystical and prophetic illusions. Listen to what I'm saying. This is prophetic. These will lead many astray, and it's happening already. How many in here you don't have to raise your hand, you knew someone 10 years ago on fire, not just for Yeshua, but got the revelation of the Torah, and you look right now, where are they? It's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking for shepherds. Why? We don't want to see people perish. That's why we must make a stand for righteousness, even if it feels like your leg was broken. Let's look at Balak's name. Let me just move forward here. Balak, the king of Moab. His name is defined as a destroyer. Means to annihilate, to waste, and also to raise. Well, we raised our children. No, not this kind of raise. It's almost like a rape of things, just raising everything, removing it. Balak's name is also an anagram for what he wanted. Balak's name is also an anagram for what he wanted Balaam to do, which was to curse. So the anagram of Balak is lakov, which means to curse. Found in Numbers 23, verse 11. Interesting, right? Within the name of Balak was his intention to curse him. Our names mean something. My mom and dad gave me the name Yochanan Yaakov. And then the adopted last name Flores, right? Because my grandfather was an orphan. Adopted 2 months after being born in Brazil, was adopted by a Native American Apache lady and some other dude. I don't even know who he is. But I remember her. We called her Nana. Lived to be 109. Hair down to like here, all salt and pepper. Used to trip us with her cane. But anyways, flashbacks. That's PTSD in a sense, right? Let's move forward. We'll move forward here. We have the false prophet Balaam, who has been around for a very long time. He is a prophet for hire, Deuteronomy 23, verse 4 through 5. He's a soothsayer, Joshua 13:22. We discover who he is as mentioned in Jasher chapter 64 to chapter 80. Balaam means to wear out the people. Balaam intends to wear out the people with false prophecy and false hope. His goal is to cause the people to break and bend under the pressure and process of entering the promised land. Balaam's weapon of choice is seduction and strife. I'm talking here. We serve the great and matchless Elohim, who has given us his spirit, and through Yeshua we can do all things because he is our strength. We will not bend, we will not buckle. Why? Greater is he that is in me than he that is in the world, Balaam. We will not bend due to the pressures of the world today. Balaam, along with Yitro and Job, all had a position in the Egyptian kingdom. Balaam wanted he wanted to kill Moses. He wanted Moses dead. And then later, the king that rose up that was not from an Egyptian line, it was a Hyksos king, he went and started killing off the Hebrew babies. Isn't it something that when you leave religion and you come and you cross over into the Hebraic things, you're like one of the Hebrew babies. The enemy wants to take you out. Isn't that something? Excuse me. Yitro didn't stand for it. Yitro actually walked out of the corridors. He's like, this is not going, I'm not in agreement with this. Yitro, a pagan Midianite priest, turned his back for a moment on his Midianite practices and said, this cannot happen. I'm leaving. And Yitro takes that staff that had the sacred name of Yah on there, and I know there could be a lot of debate on that. He took it, and what did he do? You guys heard me, I shared this before. Transplanted it in his backyard, and he said, that's what a good father should do, right? He should have the deepest root of truth. If that husband can pluck that truth out of the ground of that father's house, then you're worthy to have his daughter as a bride. If you can't even pull that out, why? It's because you're not rooted and grounded yet. You're not qualified for her. Why? Women they're not created, they're built. Women are built. Men come from the Men come from where? Don't get prideful, men. I'm a man. We come from dust. Dust tends to go everywhere, but a woman came out built. You want this? Prove it. Balaam's the same man who tried to have Moses killed. Just read Jasher 70. Balaam carried with him the demon spirit of witchcraft from Egypt that we see rampant in the music industry today as well as Hollywood. Did you know the movies, speaking of the antenna effect, and music you allow into your life? Why are you holding your breath, praise and worship team? Not here, I'm just speaking in general. Well, P. Diddy's music just kind of gets me to move a little bit. You can't lift your hands at Shabbat, but you can shake your booty to his stuff. Or I got a secret little CD so I could practice my gangster lean when no one's watching, right? I've been there. I was into heavy metal and all that. I know. And you believe you come out, it's like a gradual thing. It seems like the music's the one that needs to be balanced. There's nothing wrong. There's a lot of good music. I'm not trying to hammer anyone, but I'm making a point. You get what I'm saying? No, you talked about my CD, man. Did you know movies and music you allow into your life are like antennas to the realm of the spirit world. I've been checked this week, man. I wanted to watch a certain movie, and the Spirit said, "Didn't you just pray? What are you doing?" Nothing. They transmit messages that can manifest in the flesh. Did you know that? I used to hear demons when I was into death metal and all that. I used to see stuff. Maybe that's why my mom and dad put me in a nut house when I was 13, huh? No, that's a whole nother story. I knew he was crazy. I'm not crazy. But they transmit messages that can manifest in the flesh. That's why when we sing, it says, "Sing unto Yahweh a new song." Praise Him with the harp and the guitar and the drums and the flutes. Praise the King. Why? What did we say in the beginning? That's why I played that song. We were created to worship the King. Some of you are going to get in your car on the way out like, 95.9. No, I don't know what that is. What's 95.9 up here? That's California, a Christian station. Even that can be weird, right? Let's get in here. Look at the word for antenna in Hebrew. It's masos. Strong's 4885, which means basically to rejoice. Watch this. Your joy is connected to a spiritual or worldly antenna. In Psalm 48, verse 2, the scripture says Jerusalem was to be the masos of the whole earth. The antenna of joy to the whole earth. You're like an antenna to everyone around you. What is transmitting out of your life that's drawing in those around you? I told you this was going to be a sobering message, right? I'm talking to myself first. I promise you I am. That's why I went in my garage and started doing some training that I do, and I really took it out on some stuff like, I can't believe this. But I can. Molding is good. Detaching is good. Attachment is good. But Jerusalem was to be the joy, masos, of the whole earth. Jerusalem is the antenna, masos, of the king's palace of rulership. Isn't that something? Now, the numerical value of the feminine rendering of masos is masosa. Sounds almost like a Spanish. Is that a Spanish word, Ceci? No? She's like, you missed it, buddy. Let's just make one up. I know chismosa is. So that's in there. See, chismosa. Mosa. Masosa. Happens to hold the same numerical value, this blows my mind, as the term terumah. All the elements that were used for the building of the tabernacle in Exodus 25. So the tabernacle stood as an electric superconductor antenna transmitting the instructions as a schoolmaster system. I knew I could bring the Melchizedek into this. That pointed to the greater and more powerful royal priesthood in Yeshua, the Melchizedek order. So the whole tabernacle was like an antenna transmitting the revelation of one greater than what you can see right now is coming. And He's calling me. If there's an antenna, then there's a source, a voice, a frequency, a source location of origin regarding the transmission itself, meaning the voice that once walked with Adam in the garden was now transmitting the revelation and prophetic truth of Yeshua, who would soon arrive through the terumah, or the elements for the tabernacle, the Mishkan. Yeshua, the Word made flesh, was the earthly antenna of His Father who transmitted the kingdom truths and kingdom actions from the throne. That's why in John 5:19 He says, I only do what I see my Father doing. transmission. Does this make sense? You guys want me to stop? One last numerical connection with this phrase, Hebrew word masos, masosa, not chismosa, but masosa, is the bride connection that the enemy's after. Ultimately, he wants the bride. And it's the Hebrew word mitzalotav in Genesis 2:21, one of his ribs or one of his chambers, that the woman will be built from one of the chambers of the Adam. Why? She was to be an antenna type effect to the children. Comes from the word selah, which means rib or curvature, as in a dome type appearance. So out of Adam, I think I'm going to speak prophetic right now. I really believe so. Right now, the body of Adam is cut open. And what is starting to appear is the truth of the curvature of things that should have never been altered, like the priesthood, like the calendar, like even the shape of the earth. These truths are starting to come out, and they're supposed to be seen in who? Adam? No, in the rib, the bride. The bride is supposed to reveal these truths. It's no coincidence that we see this calendar thing coming up, which it's been scattered, but now the truth, the enemy always brings the counterfeit first. That's why wait. You got to just wait. As soon as you decide to do something, just wait a minute. Here's how you know you're spiritually discerning something. Just wait, see what comes, and then pause and test that to see if it lines up here. Why? It seems like Yahweh Elohim allows the enemy to bring his stuff first to test us and to expose him. Just wait. But I believe we're in that prophetic time right now. The body of Messiah is revealing the truths of things. The timetable of the appointed times through the proper 360 calendar curvature of things. The priesthood, the Melchizedek order. Why is it did you know the Melchizedek order is a 360 degree thing also? Because he declares the end from the beginning. He's the first and the last. He's the beginning and the end. Let's continue on with the Balaam factor. Balaam was one of the main sorcerers of the ancient pharaonic Egyptian empire and was most likely the warlock of Egypt. I've come face to face with a warlock. It was crazy. The prophets of Balaam are against the mandate of the covenant while performing signs and wonders before the people. Balaam, the arch enemy of the Hebrew people and the foe of Moses, is now present in Moab. This is the satanic battle of revenge. Moses is faced with Balaam one last time, and Balaam will always come with two others. This time, Moses is a grown man who has been fashioned and formed by the hand of the Most High at the burning bush. He's not baby Moses trying to play with the crown of Pharaoh. He is the servant shepherd of Israel, now groomed and fashioned for warfare. It's not the same Moses. He's 80 years old now, and Balaam is facing someone who is about to turn 120. He's not some little baby boy anymore. This is the mature Moses. And Balaam is face to face with him. Notice how false prophets always stay close to two other people while by their side, making it a forbidden three-chord strand of deception. You'll notice that. You'll have this prophet, then he has this so-called spiritual father, and then someone he's raising up. It's always like that with false prophets. True prophets are always walking alone. Mantles are transferred. Why? Because the full mantle, their veil is torn, and now it's passed as a mantle over onto the next one, Elijah and Elisha. I'm working on a study right now pertaining to 1 Kings chapter 18, and it is going to be powerful. Pertaining to what Elijah had done. It's so powerful. But notice that Elijah was so, I'm trying to think of the term. He was not a pushover. He was a man's man. He faced 450 false prophets of Baal. He stood face to face against them while they were cutting themselves. Now, listen to what I'm saying. The Bible talks about tattoos. I have them. You know that demons, how many people have ever seen a deliverance? How many people have ever been through one or seen it? You know demons are tattooed? I've seen this. I was delivered, and I seen stuff that my wife wasn't around. I'm glad her and Jeremiah, when he was 2, they weren't there. I was set free. Demons manifested, and they're marked with tattoos. So tattoo parlors are this. Well, it just says you can't mark your body. No, do not mark your body as unto the dead, and do not cut yourself. 2 categories. I wish I would have known this revelation. I wouldn't have got my back and everything done 20-something years ago. The tattoo, the cutting, you come to an altar, and then they draw your blood. And that blood letting now conjures up demonic entities around, and depending on what you carve in yourself, the blood makes a covenant with the demon to match what you put on your body. So when you see, my point is what? When you see these so-called prophets getting all tatted down, see me, I'm an all-in or nothing guy. When I got this stupid tattoo all on my back, it was 9.5 hours straight. Non-stop. My leg going like this because the nerves in my spine were all being poked. And I stood there drenched in sweat because of the pain. Not knowing what was going on. So when you see these false prophets doing this kind of stuff, getting tatted down, that's an indication that they are connected to a forbidden altar. They're false. You see, I've been through a lot of stuff, so I can talk about it now because I've repented of it and cried out to the Father and renounced things. But everyone, when you get grown, it's up to you. Why did I even go there? All because of Baal, because of the prophets of Baal. So here you have Elijah. I don't know why I'm going this direction, but it is what it is. That's why I tell Brittany and Esther, I'm not going to go over all the slides. That's for you guys to read at home and just correct all my typos. Have fun with that one. I'm going to start typing with no vowels and see if everyone can read that, just to cover up my typos. Is that cool? No wonder no one's buying my book. That's your loss. I had expert editors pretty much rewriting my whole book, so that's your loss. But here you have Elijah face to face with all these false prophets, bold as a lion, and then this woman Jezebel causes him to run and hide. You see, the challenge is not confronting false prophets. It's when Jezebel comes in on the scene, are you going to remain standing? Why? Because Jezebel's connected to the harlot that rides the beast. It's a lot more serious than a false prophet. False prophets are the voice of the beast. The harlot is the one riding the beast. We've got to get into the text. Numbers 22, verse 7. I won't finish, but you guys, I think I've shared a lot so far. Would you agree? Numbers 22, verse 7. And the elders of Moab and the elders of Midian departed with the rewards of divination in their hand. And they came unto Balaam and spoke unto him the words of Balak. This phrase, rewards of divination, is uksamim, which means magical devices. We can really go some places here, boy. On one level, we see these magical devices like, what's that thing in the homes where people just talk? Alexa, a magical device. They sugar-coated this stuff like they did Bambi back in the day now, like the Wizard of Oz. And now remember the little Disney thing where the little tooth fairy with her little glitter, and then she would dot the I? They said that never existed. Mind games, magical devices. So on one level, we see these magical devices being injected into the masses today via the media, television, movies, music, religion, and of course, we can't leave this one out, medical inoculation, and now this artificial intelligence, digital reprogramming of all of mankind. We are in exciting times, you guys, right? Taxi? Where's your Mark at? Oh, he's still at home. No, not your brother Mark. Where's your Mark at? I don't have one. Remove the spiritual sensitivity of the soul of man, and you have an agent as well as a liaison for the strong delusion of Balaam's magical arts, same thing. Uksamim comes from kesem, which means to divine, to practice sorcery and witchcraft. The distribution or transmission of divining words of prophecy. That antenna effect, this Balaam factor thing. This entire Hebrew phrase tells us about the ongoing desire of Balaam's influence upon the mixed multitude in Israel by way of a numerical value connection, 256, which is tied into Aharon, right? Meaning Aaron and Ha'aron, the ark. Balaam wants to be cloaked in the priesthood, and he wants his own type of ark seat of recognition. And if Balak is not careful, Balaam wants his crown too. The false spirit of Balaam knows he can't take the Melchizedek priestly position, so it attempts to reemerge an Aaronic one. I did say that. I said it. All this Levitical stuff popping up, Balaam's behind that. Why? He wants to put that on. The spirit of Balaam wants to put that on. Why? He's a bloodletter. The error of Balaam, remember, is tied to the spilling of the blood of generations. He wants that on so that all will come under the submission of the sacrifices of men. Very sobering, huh? We're not inviting him out. I'm so glad you're not, because I don't like to be away from my family anyways. Just keep watching what's happening over in the state of Israel, and you'll see this unfold completely as it's already happening now. Today we see this on both sides of the narrow path of the royal order. 2 vineyards after the same thing. A greasy graced away and added to royal priesthood position. One to fit modern rabbinic Judaism's coming Messiah. And the other to resemble the law-breaking Messiah the Protestant church has portrayed. Excuse me. And yes, you can also toss in Islam on either side as well, because Islam has quotes supporting both vineyards. 2 vineyards on either side of the narrow path, transmitting false and partial information pertaining to our royal high priest. Balaam is warned by Elohim not to curse. And in Numbers 22:13, Balaam twists the words by telling the princes of Balak that Elohim told him not to go with them. And that leaves an open door for the deception of this ancient Egyptian spirit that possessed Balaam. Balaam was a prophet for hire, and there's no other way to put it. He was a prophet for hire. He desired all that glittered, but yet he didn't really want it. Give him the right price, and he'll come to your venue and give you a word you want to hear, right? Isaiah 30 recorded that. Here's another Balaam piece of evidence. Balaam will come speak at your church for an upfront $10,000 first, $20,000 or $100,000 plus just to get there. And I guarantee, Balaam says, I will tell your congregation what they want to hear. We got to get that guy back, man. He's powerful. No, he's deceptive. That's not power, that's deception. Then he'll have a prophetic word for that whole congregation just to pull them away. This is what's happening right now as I speak. Around the world, pulpits of Baal are speaking by the gainsaying words of Balaam. The prophets of old didn't do it. The apostles never did it. And Yeshua said this to them. He didn't say what these guys are doing. Look at Yeshua exposed it already. What did Yeshua say to the real apostles? He said this in Luke 9:1. Then he called his 12 disciples together, and he first gave them power and authority over all devils and to cure diseases. And he sent them to preach the kingdom of God and to heal the sick. And he said unto them, take nothing for your journey, neither staves nor scrip, neither bread, neither money, neither have two coats. In other words, you remain content and I will take care of you. You don't go and demand anything. Let my word go forth from you because I am here to redeem my people. Numbers 22:16, and they came to Balaam and said to him, thus saith Balak the son of Zippor, let nothing, I pray, hinder you from coming unto us, for I will promote you unto very great honor. My God, you know what's going on today? This over-honoring of people. I feel like getting those guys, just grab them by their pants and give them that wedgie, pick them up and just throw them like Paul Blart did that dude out the window. When wealth and promotion is offered to the false prophet, he begins his journey through the scrolls of divination, seeking a way with that African black soap. Let's go together and take a naked bath together, and you'll receive the power of prophecy. Lies. It's the power of divination, the spirit of Balaam. This is what they do. Go to Africa. We were talking to these guys. They were trying to pull us in, and I exposed them on a live from Africa, Kenya. I said, you guys, you nailed some things that brought tears to my eyes. But the Spirit of the Most High, here's what I told them, said, you are false prophets. And death is at your door if you even attempt to contact us again. They wanted me to fly to Kenya to go inside, go to these 3 mountains. Look at that. In threes all the time. I said, for what? They said, the main prophet Elijah, that's the old man's name, and 2 other prophets will meet you there. They come in threes. This was last year. And when you're there, they're going to put a garment on you, and then you have to go into the immersion pool. The Spirit of the Most High quickened me, and I called them out for who they were. And all these Uber angels, Passion Java, all these big names went through them to be so successful like you see them today. I said, you could take that and stick it where the sun don't shine. Because there was great wealth attached to that. What will a man give in exchange for his own soul just to gain the whole world? Will he give up his own soul just to gain the world? Balaam rose up in the morning and saddled his ass and went with the princes of Moab and God. I'm reading from the King James and I'm not going to interpret it. I'm going to translate. I'm going to leave it alone. And went with the princes, always in groups. You see that? Yeshua sent the disciples out 2 by 2. Why not 3 physical ones? Because Yeshua said, I'm sending you out 2 by 2, but I just sent the 3rd one, the empowerment of the kingdom. What are the comments online? Are people listening, getting shaken up? Anybody crying yet? And God's anger was kindled because he went, and the angel of Yahweh stood in the way for an adversary against him. And he was riding upon his ass, and 2 servants were with him. And the ass saw the angel of Yahweh standing in the way, and his sword drawn in his hand, and I just heard something. Okay, the donkey turned aside out of the way and went into the field, and Balaam smote the donkey to turn her into the way. And the donkey and smote her to turn her into the way. But the angel of Yahweh stood in the path of the vineyards, a wall on this side and a wall on that side. One wall called Judaism and the other wall called Christianity, if I can. 2 empires with their own walled structures. One vineyard has added to the Torah and discredited the true high priest and king of Israel because of the spirit of Balaam seen in rabbinic Judaism as a whole. The other side has made our king to be a law-breaking false prophet by doctrinal lies of replacement theology, by preaching the law was nailed to the cross. Balaam is in them both, but the angel of Yahweh comes. And he stands before Balaam and draws the sword. And what does Balaam say? I'm going to just paraphrase it in my interpretation. Is that all right? Are you trying to start something with me? What does that angel say? He says something none of us ever want to hear. I am the angel of Yahweh of the armies of heaven. A chief captain, a high-ranking angelic power that can wipe out this planet if it wanted to. Balaam changes his whole perspective. And we're running out of time, you guys. I'm going to skip everything and go right to the end, and I apologize. You guys can get the notes and do whatever you want with them. I don't care. It's up to you. I want to go look at just the last couple verses in chapter 25, beginning in verse 7. And when Pinchas, the son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron, the priest, saw what had happened with Zimri and Cosby, I'm going to leave it at this. Because next week, Brittany's teaching Pinchas. I don't want to blow it, okay? Basically, what happened is they created, that's the first Cosby show. And Pinchas came to cancel it. When Balaam is received, Cosby and Zimris are born. And it will take the Zechariah 9 donkey revelation event to dismantle it. This takes the spear of our Melchizedek, which Ramach, that's what Pinchas did, to destroy the forbidden union. He will come to purify his vineyard as he stands upon the narrow path where he meets his redeemed bride. The husband and bride will be reunited because of his blood. Adam and Eve created the dividing vineyard when they fell, and now Yeshua, the covenant of the pieces mystery, once shown to Abraham, has come to cleanse the vineyard, restoring the 2 righteous ones again. And I have a question. Are we zealous for righteousness? Or are there some who have been seduced by this seductive spirit of Balaam and his prophetic sorcery? There's a 3rd temple already here, an altar and seat prepared with the AIB system in place. Balaam is being set up for his crushing at the wall of division. The last standing element of the puzzle is in place, a priesthood postured up, ready for activation with its red heifer of replacement theology. Will you be found at the foot of Balaam or at the foot of the loftiest altar here on earth where our risen King will one day meet us? Will the body remain as the bruised and abused she-donkey, or will she walk in her restoration because of the royal covenant-keeping javelin of the order of Melchizedek, the Romach? The numerical value of Romach is 248. The exact number of parts in connection with the bones in our body. May the dry bones of Joseph rise up and be clothed in the kingdom garment of righteousness. The kingdom of heaven has arrived. Thy kingdom come, and thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Shabbat shalom.